You have been trying to manifest more money, more abundance into your life for a while now. You've done vision board, you've visualized the life that you want, you've done affirmations, and you may have seen some progress. But when it comes to money and finance, you still feel like you're stuck in the same place. And it feels exhausting. So what is going on? Hi, my name is Yulin Lee. As a money empowerment coach and a spiritual mentor for over a decade, I have helped hundreds of women in midlife who are spiritually awake, deeply intentional, and who have done tremendous inner work. But they're still having challenges in the area of money and finance. And what I often see is that it's not a problem of lack of effort. It's more of those refinements that most people miss. But once you've made those fine-tuning of those refinements, those nuances, that once it's made, it changes the results entirely. And I know this because I also lived it myself. And so in this video, I'm going to explain details of what manifesting money really is and how to do it in a way so that it's for lasting wealth and why that is important. So I'm not going to talk about how to manifest $1,000 here and $2,000 there, because you know why? That is still playing the survival game. I don't know if you've noticed, those truly wealthy people, do you ever see them constantly trying to manifest more money for this or that? That should be the clue. So for those of you who have been trying to learn how to manifest $1,000 in 10 minutes, let me tell you, you're barking up the wrong tree. In fact, we want to get out of that survival cycle. And I'm going to explain everything in detail, so stay with me. So first of all, I want to clarify what manifestation means and what it is, because I do notice different people have different definitions of it, and they maybe do it in a different way. And so for all of the discussions today, I want to make sure that we're starting out at the same level of understanding. So instead of trying to figure out, do I use my definition or your definition, I went to the dictionary. And so here's what it says. Manifestation is the act of turning a mental desire into reality through focused intention, belief, and action. It is often tied to the idea that your thoughts, feelings, and action attract and create corresponding experiences in your life. So that's the official definition. And I was thinking back to my own life and trying to ask this question, where have I used manifestation in my own life? Over 20 years ago, I read the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And at the time, I decided, and this is important, I made a decision that I want to shift from being an income earner to a wealth builder. So there are a couple of things here that's very, very important. Number one is I made a decision, and this is very important in the entire manifestation process, because you truly have to decide that this is something that you want to pursue. This is something that you truly want when you're trying to manifest something, right? It's not something that it's a wishy-washy, nice to have. And so you have to make that decision. This is truly what you want to have. Okay. And number two, I said I want to shift my identity from being an income earner to a wealth builder. So shifting identity is a topic that's really worth its own video, which I will do at a later time. But for the purpose of this video, basically my mental desire at the time was to become a wealth builder. So that was my new focus. And then with the belief that I could do it and all the subsequent actions that I took in investing in real estate, that's what gave me the results that I have today in terms of my own financial freedom. And at the time, I didn't know that that was manifestation. I didn't know that concept or that name. But now looking back, certainly I was going through a manifestation process. So if you ask me today, do I believe in manifestation? Does it work? Absolutely. I believe it's real because it has worked for me. So this video is not about debunking the manifestation as a concept or as a practice. Now let's get into why manifestation hasn't worked for a lot of people in terms of their overall financial well-being. I'm going to dissect the different layers within the entire manifesting process. So the first layer is about creating the vision. And if you're familiar with manifestation, you know that people will tell you, well, you need to start with a vision, right? Because you have to know exactly what you want first in order for you to manifest anything meaningful. But it's in creating that vision, that's where I find people oftentimes fall into a trap. And what do I mean by that? Well, I find most people go straight to, I want to manifest more money. Well, if that's your statement, first of all, that statement itself is problematic because it's too vague. You know, I want more money. What is more money? How much exactly is that? right? So we need to be very specific with the universe if we're trying to call in a specific number. Now, for people who have a specific number, oftentimes I see them used in situations like, I am trying to manifest $5,000 because my car just broke down and I didn't expect that and I don't have that money to get my car fixed, right? Or I want to sign up for this coaching program I really want to do. I don't have that money, so I'm trying to manifest that money, right? That act in itself is not a problem per se, but if you keep on doing manifestation for these kind of scenarios, then that's where the problem is, because they're not addressing the underlying issue. So when you try to manifest that $5,000 to get your car fixed, it's a short-term problem. What you're doing is you are using the manifestation as a quick fix tool to address an immediate problem. What's missing is addressing the underlying bigger problem, which is, why don't you have the $5,000? Now, let me clarify. By me asking this question, it's not about judging or shaming anyone who is currently in that situation. I'm simply stating an observation, because when we call it out, we can actually see what is a bigger thing that we want to achieve instead of every day dealing with these emergency issues. That's my point, right? If we only practice manifestation to address these immediate problems that gives us stress in our life, then even if you're really good at manifesting, you are still being kept and stuck in this loop. You're not really getting elevated to the next level of true financial stability and security. So that's my point, is that when you're creating this vision for manifestation to work, to bringing more money and more abundance into life, make sure that you have a bigger vision than just what's the immediate need. Okay. And when I think back to my own life, I have a very typical immigrant story. I came to the States with my parents when I was in my teens. We came with nothing. So we started our lives here from zero. Back then, I didn't know anything about manifestation, and I didn't have a vision of becoming a millionaire, because at that time, $10,000 was an astronomical number for me. So I couldn't even fathom becoming a millionaire or trying to manifest $1 million into my life. But what was very clear in my mind was this idea that I have to build financial stability and financial security as my number one priority. Now, that mental desire was instilled in me by my parents, but still, that was the vision I had, was overall financial stability. And with that vision in mind, it directed how I was acting, the actions that I took, which means spend less, save more, right? So it's that vision that drives the actions that you take. And so when your vision is too small, you're not taking these critical actions that take you to the next level. So you want to have a bigger vision for yourself when you're manifesting. And you can also look at, again, those truly wealthy people. They probably are not telling themselves every day that I need to manifest more money so I can buy this or that, right? They probably have a bigger vision, something more meaningful for them to accomplish. And that's what they focus on. And they take necessary actions to get there. So they do manifest whatever they want in their life, right? And so that's my point, is make sure your vision is big enough to take you to the next level so that you don't unintentionally get stuck in this trap, this loop of always manifesting $1,000 here and there to pay my bills. Okay, get out of that state. Now let's talk about the second layer of the manifestation process, and that is the visualization practice. If I ask you, hey, why don't you visualize what it feels like when you're actually a millionaire or a multimillionaire? What would you do? How would you feel? What would be your thoughts? Chances are the answers are, well, if I really have multi-million dollars, I'm definitely going to go buy this house that I wanted. I'm going to go on this vacation that I've been wanting. And maybe I want to buy that bag. Maybe I want to go buy that boat. Maybe I want to buy my girlfriend a house or a boyfriend, something. There's all kinds of ideas of how you're going to spend the money. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting all of those things. I myself also love fine things in life. I love to enjoy my life too. So there's nothing wrong wanting those things. However, this is just, again, an observation of where our mind went first. Our mind went to spending first. But true millionaires, they don't lead with spending. They're always about building. So here's an invitation to how you can do your visualization differently the next time. Maybe instead of visualizing how you're going to spend the money, try visualizing how you're going to build it and how you're going to grow it. Now, here's the thing. You already know how to spend. So you don't need to visualize how you're going to spend money. Because when you visualize how you're going to spend money, that doesn't actually really change who you are. It's when you can start visualizing how you're going to build it and grow it, that's when you're going to move into this person you're becoming. Because if you really want to become a millionaire, you need to be in that millionaire space. And in that millionaire space, you don't lead your life with spending. Definitely you will spend money on things you like, but that's not where your first focus goes. Your focus is always on building and growing. Now you might say, but I don't know how to do that. That's okay. Just make something up. Let your imagination go wild. The point about this is changing the direction of where that default direction of where your mind goes and where your attention goes. So instead of going into spending, try visualizing building. And this answers the question that a lot of times I hear from people saying that, yeah, I know I'm supposed to visualize and feel the feeling of being a millionaire, but since I've never been a millionaire, I don't really know how it feels, or I didn't grow up with anyone who has $1 million around me, so I don't know what's it like to live like a millionaire. Well, this is exactly the one specific example of what it is to live like a millionaire, right? It's that fine tweak of lead with spending versus lead with building. And this is exactly the refining tools that I teach in my coaching program. Because I see so many women who are making a lot of effort to try to move ahead, in terms of their financial well-being, but they haven't seen much results. And oftentimes it takes someone to notice the nuances and then give you the refining tool for you to make that switch, and that will give you the quantum jump to the next level. And so if this is something that you're interested in, you can schedule a complimentary strategy session with me. The link is in the description below. Now let's talk about the third layer, which is the affirmation practice. Does affirmation work? Because there's a lot of times I see people saying, oh, these affirmations, they don't work. Well, they can work for some people. For a lot of people, they don't work because they're missing two key ingredients. The most common reason why affirmations don't work is because whatever they're affirming to themselves, it stays in their conscious level. It stays in their conscious mind, in the head. It doesn't go down into your subconscious level and in your body. And what that means is if it's not in your body, if it's not in the subconscious level, you actually don't believe it. So how would you do it differently then? Well, there are two key things to affirmation. One is whenever you're trying to affirm something, let's say, for example, you want to affirm that I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. Now, rather than just say, I am a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. And because when you just do that, it stays in this head. It doesn't really change anything inside of you. But you can say, I am a millionaire, and at the same time visualizing what it feels like to be a millionaire, which is that last layer that we just talked about. Practicing feeling and being that millionaire who's always thinking about, how do I grow my assets? How do I grow my wealth? That's one way of really getting your body and yourself and your subconscious mind to start believing in the statement that I am a millionaire. Okay, that's number one. Number two is, in order for the affirmations to work, you need to believe it. But in order to believe it, our brain, we're always looking for evidence. And how do you get that evidence? By taking inspired actions. And this is where a lot of the problem lies for many people, is that they do this manifestation work. They tend to stay in the mindset level, right? I'm doing the visualization. I'm creating the vision in my head, and I'm doing the affirmation. All the work they're doing is all part of the mindset work. They're not taking a lot of inspired actions. And when you don't take inspired actions to your brain, there's no proof to that. And so therefore you don't believe it. So by taking inspired actions, these actions become the feedback loop to strengthen your belief that whatever you're affirming is true. So this is the missing piece for many people. So the next time when you do affirmation, make sure you tie it to your visualization and make sure you take inspired actions that supports the affirmation that you're repeating to yourself. Now, let me summarize everything that I had talked about so far and also want to give you some quick tips to walk away with. Okay, so first of all, in order for manifestation to work for you in a way that has lasting changes, the lasting effects and lasting wealth, you need to make sure the vision you create for yourself is big enough. This is important because you want to ultimately get out of this loop and get out of this cycle where you're constantly having to manifest money to put out fires. Okay, that's very, very important. And I find a lot of people get stuck in this loop when they're trying to do this manifestation thing. And so essentially, this is the work on your mindset and also shifting your identity. Then we talked about visualizing. And so again, for the example of visualizing to become a millionaire, you want to make sure your behaviors around money are aligned with the vision that you say you want. And so when you visualize becoming a millionaire, your money behavior has to match a real millionaire. And so this step is really about alignment to make sure that there's alignment in your life. Lastly, we talked about affirmation. And in order for affirmations to work, you have to deeply, truly believe in whatever you're affirming. And the best way to have that belief is to take inspired actions. And in my coaching program, I call this the MAP framework: mindset, alignment, and plan and practice. And again, if you're interested in learning how to stack this framework with your manifestation efforts, you can schedule a complimentary strategy session with me, and the link is in the description below. Okay, so here are some practical inspired actions that you can take on a daily basis. Number one, schedule a weekly money date. Put on your calendar for once a week, 15 minutes, grab yourself a cup of coffee, go sit in some nice quiet place, have a date with money. Go through all your bank statements, look at what's coming in, what's going out. And remember, this is a no judgment zone. You're not here to criticize, you're not here to shame or judging anything. You're purely looking at the number as they are. It serves two purposes. One is to get clarity on your numbers. Number two is to build up your emotional muscle so that you don't get easily triggered by the numbers. Because I do know a lot of women, they do get triggered by their numbers. And so we want to make sure we get to a point where we can see these numbers purely as they are. Sometimes we might like it, sometimes we may not. Either way, they're just numbers, and we're learning how to work with those numbers without being emotionally triggered. And the more you do this, the more it becomes easier. Okay, so have a regular date with money. It only takes 15 minutes. Now, tip number 2, start a money journal. This is so helpful for a lot of people, especially if you feel like you have a lot of challenges in your relationship to money. By journaling, you could do it on a daily basis, or you could do it right after your money date, right? Maybe you can extend that date from 15 minutes to maybe 20 or 25 minutes, or maybe 30 minutes, where you have a date first with the money, you know where it is, how money is doing, and then the last 10, 15 minutes is just for you to journal on what comes up for you. Okay. One thing specifically in terms of manifestation into the life that you want, here's one prompt you can use. You can say, this is a average Tuesday. My day looks like this. I wake up at this time. This is how I feel. These are the things I would be doing. It's not about vacations. It's really about an ordinary Tuesday. What does that life look like for you in your dream state? Right? This is more about creating more alignment in your life. You don't need to wait until you are financially free to have these alignment. In fact, you want to start building these alignments little step by step over time. Tip number 3, name your number. Here's a question that I ask every single person that I come across, that I talk to, and that is, how much is enough for you to feel financially safe and secure? So many people don't know that number. They want to have that peace of mind, but they don't know what does it take to have that peace of mind. How much do you really need for you to feel that you have the peace of mind? And you might say, but I don't know. That's okay. You can just guess right now. And this is also, again, something I do with my coaching clients, is that we actually go through the steps and the process to help you figure out what that number is for you, because everybody is different. Tip number 4, examine your belief. Now, this is a lifelong work that we have to keep doing, because depending on the phase that we're in our lives, we may have different belief systems and they change over time. So we're always wanting to examine and re-examine, what are my current belief systems that I have right now? What is that one story that you have been holding on to right now about your money? So think about that and then ask yourself, is it really true? Or is it just simply a story that I have inherited from somebody else and I have been holding on to for a long time? And then, is it time for me to let it go? So you can do this maybe once a quarter or whatever, but again, just pick one belief around money that, examine it. Maybe it's a good belief and that's fine. And you go on to the next one, right? But we're always having something that's holding us back. And so each level that we move up to, we would hit different ones. So that's tip number 4. Now, these are all the things that you can do right away. So here's what I want you to walk away from this video. Number 1, manifestation does work if you do it in the right way. So you don't need to abandon it. What you need is refinement, to go into each layer and find where the nuances are hiding. And that's where you apply the tweaks to get a completely different results. And the gap between where you are right now and to where you want to be may not be as big as you thought. But that's the work that you need to put in first, is to figure out, what does that gap look like? Once you know it, then you can build a bridge to cross it. I know it's absolutely doable because you've already proven yourself to be someone doing the inner work if you're watching this video. And again, if you want support in doing this work, schedule a complimentary strategy sessions. I work specifically with women in midlife who are ready to stop spinning their wheels and to start building something real. And that might be you. And so if this video has been helpful, has given you something to think about, please hit the subscribe button, because every week I bring you tools, mindset shifts, and refinements to help you build lasting wealth. I'll see you next week.